All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So we've got the full review for the Sony Xperia X8 Ultra. This has been a joy to use, and for once in a long time, it has not been very difficult to use this phone as my daily driver for 2 weeks straight. It's just been fantastic. And that is a shock because I didn't think it would impress me that much. I thought it would just be all beauty with a weak battery. I was totally wrong. And the best way to test the device is to actually put your main SIM card in it. If you have more than one SIM card, put it in there and leave it in there and use it. And that is what I do. So this one right here has a 6-inch display on the front, 1080p. It's actually very stunning. If you see this in person, oh my gosh, it is that good. Now it does have on-screen buttons. So when you're talking about build quality, yeah, the display is good, but it's got on-screen buttons and there's nothing going on down here. It's got this big forehead and big chin. Those come in handy actually when you're holding the phone for watching media content, but other than that, I really don't see a use for it. You do have edge to edge. On the front here, you have proximity sensors, a 16 megapixel camera with LED flash, and the speakers up there for when you're trying to hear people talk to you. On this side here, you've got the power button, volume rocker, and a dedicated camera key, which I think is a good thing to have. 21.5 megapixel camera on the back. On this side, you've got a flap here, which houses and covers the SD card slot and the SIM tray. On the top, you've got a microphone and headphone jack, which you know how I feel about that. Then you've got an extremely loud single bottom firing speaker with a USB charging port and a microphone there. Inside of this puppy is a 2700 milliamp hour battery, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But overall build quality, guys, I've said it in other videos, and this is pretty much how I feel about it. This is a flagship body. This is a gorgeous flagship body. I can't say it any other way. This is a fantastic body. It is really solid. The screen on here is gorgeous. I just don't have any problems with it. The speaker is, whew. If you're a person who has this phone, please let everybody know and confirm for me that this speaker is loud. I've tested it against the Axon 7, which is probably the best sounding phone I have in my catalog. And this phone is loud. Now, while it might not sound better than the Axon 7, it's definitely a quality speaker. I don't know how they pulled that off, putting that loud speaker with good sound in this bottom firing. I just don't know how they did it. Definitely a thumbs up for me. Now, one thing about this phone, the software, I really like it. I like the themes that you can put on here. The theme store is on the weaker side because there are a lot of ones you have to pay for in there. It is a good theme store, but a lot of them you have to pay for. I'm not a fan of paying $2 or $3 for a theme. $1 is the top of the line that I pay for themes and font on a smartphone because the chances of me using it again or a lot, it's probably slim to none. So this isn't really, I wouldn't consider this a feature-rich phone, but there are, those few options of themes and things like in customizations. And actually, this is the Sony's launcher with just the Sony's theme on here. As you can see, I'm running the Spider-Man theme, and it's actually really impressive. I really, really, really like the themes that come along with this device. Some really good ones in here. So overall, the phone itself, I want to jump to performance. And then we'll get to some of the highlights of this phone, which is pretty much the camera. The performance on this thing is it's kind of a hit or miss. It has the MediaTek Helio P10. Now, I'm definitely not a fan of MediaTek processors. This one actually performs pretty well. Now, there is some lag in there, but it's kind of one of those things that you get when you have a MediaTek processor or a kind of a first generation. Because there's definitely more iterations of this processor, and I'll talk about that probably later. But there's a little bit of lag here and there, but nothing to make you say, "Oh, I hate this phone," because it does have 3 gigs of RAM. So, it'll definitely perform well in RAM management. I haven't had any problems with that. One place it does fail though is onboard storage. It only has 16 gigs onboard storage, and that is not a lot. I find myself I have my camera set to store everything on the SD card. And then when you get to a point where you start to get a little full, you just go into storage and there's options here to transfer to, the SD card. And then when you look into the advanced settings and go to storage, you'll see that almost all the memory is gone. I only have like 4 to 5 gigs left. And then I have about 4 to 5 gigs. So I only have I put an 8 gig card in here. So, the storage thing is definitely a letdown. Now, battery life is where this phone actually kind of surprised me. Being able to have such a large display on here, 6 inches at 1080p with a small 2700 milliamp hour battery, I was kind of impressed. I'm averaging 4.5 to almost 5 hours on every charge, more so 4.5. And that's pretty decent. At the worst case scenario, I get a little over 4, about 4 hours and 15 minutes. So that's actually really good for that 2700 milliamp hour battery, pushing all of this right here. The phone is, again, a mixed bag, 16 gigs of memory, but 3 gigs of RAM. Then a Helio P10, you know, performance can be a little laggy at times, and I found it most when I'm opening certain applications, certain Google apps, it really bogs the phone down, and sometimes they don't even open. I have to restart the application and close it out of memory. So, you know, just be mindful of that. It might not happen to you, but it's definitely happened to me sometimes, not a lot. Now, the highlight of this phone definitely to me is the cameras. Now the cameras on here, I'll demo them. At the end of this video, stay tuned because I'm gonna show you the front camera of this phone compared to the S7's camera, which is one of my favorite cameras. S7 Edge, S7, I have them both. I'm just gonna choose the S7 because they're pretty much the same cameras. But I'm gonna show you the front camera on here compared to the S7's front camera, which is one of the S7's cameras are just, to me, top line. I'm recording this with the S7. I use the S7 as my main camera for my channel right now. I actually have a camcorder and things, but the S7 is just easier to get around with, and I really enjoy it, man. And the quality is just top notch in low light. But I've demoed this camera in low light, so if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description. But the cameras on here are definitely the highlight. The 16 megapixel front camera has optical image stabilization. Now, I don't know, the purpose behind it. Everyone has said it. I don't know what the reasoning was behind that. But the rear camera, while it does not have optical image stabilization, it's actually pretty sharp. So check the links in the description to check out the video that I did of the night video. And I use this as a dash cam for night, and it was great, man. The cameras on here are more than efficient. They are more than enough to take you on your way to having a stellar, and that's why they did this. I think they got the front camera at 16 megapixels, with the LED flash, because I guess there's, the ultimate selfie lovers. I don't do selfies like that, unless I'm doing a thumbnail for a video. But other than that, if you needed to, this camera is more than enough. The front and rear cameras are more than enough to take you where you want to go with your picture taking needs. Trust me. So again, wait to the end of this video and you will see the front camera of this phone with the S7's front camera. And you tell me which one you think is better. Last thing I want to talk about probably is price. This phone, when it first retailed, it came out at about 400 bucks. So I passed on it and I waited. It came out last year in July officially, and that doesn't mean it starts selling everywhere in July, but right now I think the phone is definitely worth it. After having my hands on, this has been an impressive device to use every day. I found myself, when I did want to pick up something else, I would definitely be ready to use this again because it's such a big device, and I'm really impressed with it. So overall, guys, I like the Sony Xperia XA Ultra, and I would definitely recommend it. If you can get it for 300 bucks, I say go for it. It's top-notch build quality here. Metal chassis, 6-inch screen, cameras are flawless. I mean, what can you do about the 16 gigs of memory? It's supposed to get Nougat too, supposedly. So I checked Sony's website and it's not on the list yet, but we don't know. So the new version of this is called the XA Ultra 1. Now the advantages to that one is it gets 32 gigs onboard storage with 4 gigs of RAM, and you get the Helio P20. Other than that, and a little bit design element that's different, it's still got a 2700 milliamp hour battery in it. Pretty much the same phone. They just gave us more memory and they gave us a better processor and more RAM. So 32 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM with a Helio P20. That's the new version of this phone. So you might see that one later on. I don't know, but as of right now, this is more than enough. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Stay tuned for more. Get ready to see this front camera when I put it next to the S7's front camera. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. I definitely recommend this phone. The best way to do it is to get your hands on it. You can only watch so many YouTube videos. You have to go out and buy the device yourself and decide for yourself if this is going to be the phone for you. And I can tell you, if this is my only phone for the next 6 months, I probably would be okay with that. See you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. Comparison coming up right now.